Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipshetz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee and co-host of the program with Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter. Now, we position ourselves as a movie and TV podcast, but this is TV Central this week. I mean, this is TV.
It's TV week. It's the big Emmys coming out. But, we had Emmys earlier this year, but they were just late. And now this is actually the real time for Emmys. They usually try to do it before the start of the new season. So we're getting them now, but you're going to go, well, when was that? Do I remember that show? Is it this season or is it last season? But they've already given out the creative Emmys. Those were done last weekend. And that's where we kind of got a snapshot of what could be coming this Sunday. Shogun just cleaned house. And it's like, is this the only thing they watched? You had a little problem finishing it off.
I know. So I'm assuming everyone that voted for Shogun didn't do what I did and wait until 10 o'clock at night to start watching episodes and kind of plowed through it at a normal pace. Because my problem was, as I watched it late at night, my eyes would get sleepy and they're all speaking Japanese. So I couldn't keep up with the
reading,
the subtitles. Yeah, so it's a little bit, in my defense, it was really tough. I like the show. I think we talked about this previously. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was good. I thought it was very well done. I mean, from a technical standpoint, storytelling and everything, but it was 10 episodes and each episode was an hour. I mean, it's a lot to get through. And I don't know if we needed 10 episodes of Shogun, because the way the arc was on it, like the first episode or two, pretty good. Middle kind of got a little bit sluggish. And then the last 2 or 3 episodes I thought were really, really well done. Maybe if they gave me 6 condensed episodes, I would have been just like, this is the greatest show ever. But if you're asking me, is it the best drama? I don't know. It was really well done. I mean, it's I'm glad it's not in the limited series now, because I would really have a hard time figuring out, what does it deserve. But
it's one of those little prestige things that they say, well, look at the money they spent on the costumes and the sets. Look at the, the artistry of the whole thing. Look at how they're writing the ship, and it's not a bunch of, old Hollywood guys making this. They actually have Japanese people involved. So there's a lot of patting themselves on the back for doing the right thing. But I think if you were, that's a default, where you just go, well, when I'm voting, I'll vote for this because I won't get in trouble for picking something off the beam. It's not like I'm picking some show that nobody watches, and it has that factor that you need to win. So it's going to be big on Sunday. You'll probably see Hiro, the guy the Japanese guy who plays the leading Japanese role, and who kind of shepherded this thing ever since he was a kid. He's been an actor in Japan and has wanted to do this and is now producing it. And so there's a big kind of story there, and stories go over extremely well. He will probably win. The show will probably win. Anna Sawai will win, So there's a whole herd there. I don't know that a supporting actor will win. There are nominees there. I think they're pretty good for the top ones, and they probably get directing and writing too.
I will give it. I mean, he was probably the most compelling actor in that whole series. I mean, I always thought that when he was on screen, the best things were happening. He just drew me in, and absolutely deserves the best actor for a drama.
Terry, he's one of the nicest people you'd ever meet. He was, before they aired this, we had a chance to visit with them and ask questions. And he was just so sweet about everything and so grateful for everything that was happening with this. And we really thought it was a one and done. It was this miniseries and then what next? It will be a well-deserved reward for sticking with it all these years.
I mean, the big question for me is, will I actually commit to watching season 2? And I'm curious to see where it goes, when it comes out, what's the storyline? Is it picking up, is it any of the same characters, or is it just telling a whole new story in a slightly different era? I'm curious about that, because I'm not sure, as I said, with my struggles getting through it, just because of it is a barrier. I mean, you've got to commit to being awake and alert if you're going to read subtitles if you don't speak the native language. And it's tough, to carve out the time for me to do it. So I'm really going to have to think about it, but at the same time it was good. I wanted to see more.
You may go for the 6-episode format. You
Maybe
may go for 8. So, that's a way of keeping you in the fold. 6 you could do.
I could easily, because that's what I said is the first couple awesome, the last 3 were amazing. It's just I felt like it really kind of got bogged down in the middle. I mean, there was a lot to tell, and it just felt sluggish to me after a while. And it was hard for me to commit the time to watch it. But in somewhat related news, the other one that a lot of people are talking about is in comedy, and it's The Bear, which is it really a comedy? Is it not?
That doesn't matter this year.
No.
Because they've already given it 7 awards.
Right. And the one that you were talking about when this season debuted, a year ago, and you're like, watch for it. It's going to happen. Jamie Lee Curtis is going to best guest.
She did.
And she did, because even though it was the creative awards this past weekend with, music and design and casting and all that stuff, they did have some acting awards. It's kind of like those tertiary ones, not quite best actor or supporting, but it was, yeah, she was amazing. And that episode was just bonkers off the wall, and she nailed it.
Yeah, and then the guy who plays the brother who's no longer with us, he won too. So there's 2 of the acting prizes that they could get. More than likely, Jeremy White will win Best Actor. I don't think, though, that his co-star will win Best Actress, because she's going to be up against Jean Smart. And I think Jean Smart will have that one. And then supporting, we'll see. Emmett Moss Backrack will probably repeat. I don't know if it can go beyond that. And others are nominated from the show. Everyone who's on the show is nominated.
It's such a great ensemble cast.
But I wish it would move to drama.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bit of a dark comedy, but I feel it's more of a drama that has moments of levity than being a true comedy, slapstick. And another one, which is kind of, is it a comedy? Is it more of a drama? Is it a dramedy? It's the one that everyone else is talking about for the limited series, and that's Baby Reindeer.
And that has already gotten a couple of awards, but its big strength is in the acting, writing, direct. So it could have a huge night. I think it will. I think it'll win limited series, actor, supporting actress. I think it has a real shot.
But, it's not predetermined. Well, I guess it is determined, because there's an envelope somewhere that has people's names in it right now.
And they're scratching it out, right?
Right, exactly. But who, where do you see spoilers out there? Are there any in particular that you might sneak it out? Like, could Larry David get some love in the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
He might, but you know what? When he plays himself, I think that's one of those things where it's like Jerry Seinfeld. They gave him 1, but they figured no more. We don't need any more with that. So I think they're kind of in a no zone. Best supporting actress in a comedy. Meryl Streep is considered the Bigfoot there because she was in Murders in the Building. She could easily lose to Hannah Einbinder, who is the daughter of Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live, who's the young writer on Hacks. And I think they're seeing that is kind of her year. Now, the one we haven't even mentioned is Abbott Elementary, and they've got a lot of nominations, but I think they've had their moment. I think they're going to go, yeah, maybe next year we'll come back to you, but not this year.
Is Abbott Elementary pretty much the only traditional TV program? No, I mean, it's all cable and streaming giants now. I mean,
if you look at the list of the preliminary winners now, the early ones, Shogun, FX, The Bear, FX. Then we get a network one, but it's Saturday Night Live, and that's NBC. And then you don't get anything from the networks until the Oscars.
Right. It's the Oscar ceremony.
So it's Netflix, it's Amazon and Disney and Apple got a little something in there. But networks, good luck. CBS, they had that Billy Joel special that got cut off at the end. I mean, it's like specials are getting it for the networks, but not series at all.
It's a tough time to be a series.
It's like the voters aren't buying any kind of network shows. It's like, no, I think we'll go to these other ones who can give us some employment.
I don't watch network TV. I mean, like there's a couple shows here and there that I'll pick up, but it's like I turn on network TV when I want to watch, football on a Sunday or an occasional event thing.
But there are good shows, and there are some good shows coming up for the next season that are good. But yeah, I don't know. I was all in for American Ninja Warrior, and that ended this week. And I thought, this could be one that they don't have to have as just a summer series. They could throw it back on. Dancing with the Stars is coming. You see how they've created events? That's what they're looking for. But it is a sad day because when you think about networks, they used to always be the purveyors of the best series.
Yeah, it's really changed. I mean, initially you had cable wasn't even eligible. You had the Cable Ace Awards. They couldn't because it just didn't fall into the guidelines. And TV's changed so much. I mean, it used to be it was like 22 episodes made a season, and you had to pump those out all year. And now it's, like 8 episodes, and yeah, sure, that's fine. That's a series.
Well, and six, that was a canceled show.
Yeah.
The years before, 6 episodes. I don't even think I got to know who the characters were by 6.
Yeah, it takes me that long just to figure out, what's that guy's name again? It was funny too. I was looking through some of the creative awards, and I think it was like How I Met Your Father, that canceled Hulu show got a couple Emmys, and I thought, I do remember the episode that got a couple nods, and I thought, yeah, that was actually a pretty good episode. I watched the show. It was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't like the original, but that's always that kind of bittersweet moment if you're a program getting
a parting gift.
A parting gift. Here's your statue. You can put it on the shelf of wherever you're going next because you're not working on this show anymore.
And one of the winners talked about, please don't let this category disappear, because there are very few that meet that requirement of being, a live action kind of film before an audience with, lighting and whatever, because they want to just do all those kind of mockumentaries for the most part.
It is. You don't even hear that anymore. You remember you turn on your must-see TV on NBC or CBS or AB, and the scene would open. It would be that opening scene at the bar of Cheers, and you'd hear like Ted Danson say, Cheers is filmed before a live studio audience.
What's a dead studio audience?
Yeah, I know. I hope it's live. But you don't even hear that anymore because we've moved beyond whether it's live laughter or canned laughter. It's just filmed. I mean, there's like no studio audiences out there anymore.
Well, some of the ones that, it's very easy to get tickets. So if you go to Hollywood and you want to see a show and they're filming during the time, Universal Studios has a booth where you can go and get tickets. So there is an ability, but sometimes there's shows that nobody's ever heard of, and so they're not even go, and they bust in like prisoners to watch these things. So
it shaves like minutes off of your sentence. Like you got to watch some just god awful whatever. And
I survived. You wear the pin that says "I survived," whatever. Made it through the whole run. Like, yeah, no, I think Sunday's show will be good. It's being hosted by the Schitt's Creek guys. And they had to do all theirs by Zoom when they won. So maybe there'll be a lot of fun with that, as opposed to, a huge, if it's going to be at a theater or if it's going to be in a sound stage or whatever. It'll be a different vibe, and we'll see how well those two do.
Right. And it'd be fun too. I mean, we don't know what'll happen, but it would be fun if maybe they bring the cast back together and maybe do a skit or something. That would be fun.
Catherine O'Hara's out there anyway. She's pushing Beetlejuice. It's done deal. They'll probably do like the episode that you didn't get to see of Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Where are they now or whatever?
Yeah.
I think they'll reference it at some point. But yeah, so watch on Sunday night and you'll see, I think, business as usual. I'm going to predict that. But I think you'll also see a different attitude because everybody is worried about the business, that there isn't going to be enough work for everybody. And I think that will be a theme through the acceptance speeches.
Yeah, who knows? 10 years from now, and the award for best AI generated program goes to,
Mickey
oh, that'll be
Mouse.
a dark day in television. But beyond the Emmy Awards, I mean, we are coming full steam ahead into the fall season, and we're heading back in. Programs are coming back, and you have an interview with a very famous movie actor who's found another, project. But this is kind of like so many, who you said you wouldn't do if you were a big time actor. You would never do TV because TV is beneath you. It's low budget. They don't have good storytelling, but everybody's doing it now because there's some great stuff streaming, which is almost better than movies half the time.
Well, I told you I was going to do the interview, and you asked me to ask about the dude, and
The
I
dude.
did.
Yes.
And yeah, it's for The Old Man, starring Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. And I had a chance to talk to Jeff and Amy Brenneman, who plays kind of his helper in this whole thing. He's a CIA operative who's trying to lay low throughout all of this, but there's trouble, and Afghanistan is blowing up, and he's got to go and rescue somebody. That's as much as I dare tell you because it would give away too much. One of the things you'll hear in the interview is I mentioned, well, they're all good except the second one. And, he's kind of taken it back, the second one, and he's not in the second episode. Naively, I'm assuming that he doesn't think that one's as good because he's not in it. But he had a lot to say about moving over to television and what that's all been about. He was sick during the first series, so it took him forever to get that thing off the dime. And then now he's much better. He's very active in this one. He rides a horse. He's in the back of a truck. He's wrestling with people here, there, and everywhere. He's in a cave. So there's a lot for him to do, and he loves it. The thing that he's surprised by is that they have a different director every week. He's not used to that. When you make a movie, you got the same guy throughout the whole thing. So yeah, so here's Jeff Bridges, Amy Brenneman for The Old Man. The Old Man is a lot more active this year than he was the first year. Was there a reason for that, or did you say, I want to do a little bit more?
No, that's just what happens, in this series type thing. You don't know what the future holds in store. You're going in, we didn't have an idea exactly where we were going.
Were you surprised when they said, oh, you're going to ride a horse, then you're going to roll around in the back of a truck?
Yeah, that's what's kind of wild. Yeah, I love the surprise. It's true.
Well, Amy, when did they say to you, and then you're going to come in later in the show?
I knew that. And so I think I did a play or something. I was like, when am I coming back? Yeah, I knew that. And I knew that we were just going to be in Afghanistan, which, I think what's interesting for Zoe is that, she continues to be sort of the audience or the one person who's not involved with this history, decades long story. So she's always a bit of the observer. And I think Nat with this structure even more, because there's enormous things that happen that I don't know about, but then he comes back into the world.
Well, Jeff, how much of this do you know before you go into the season? Do you know the whole arc?
Oh, nothing, man. Really, nothing. And, but again, as the title implies, I'm an old man. I forget stuff. No, I can't remember exactly. I mean, generally, we are so blessed to have John Steinberg at the helm. He's our showrunner and the writer of our show. And he's such a good writer. I'm always surprised and pleased with what he brings for us to carry out.
I feel like what I was told anyway, I don't know about you, but sort of, which is the only thing I really need to know about is kind of big archetypal stuff, right? And so in the first one, it's okay, Zoe goes from being disempowered to finding some agency in her life, right? And then in the second season, it's what is this relationship? So it's almost with the details of it are kind of less to me as an actor, but it's what is this soul working on? What's on her mind?
I would worry that I would do something that would be negated in a later episode, where you go,
that is sort of, in a way, the kind of downside as an actor. Normally, when you get a script, right, Aim, you look at it and you say, oh, this is setting up this down the line. Now we don't really know setups. So we find out things that, oh, it's interesting. I was setting up this thing that I didn't even know about, but it's happening now. And it's interesting to go back and look at the setup. And I said, oh, that's not bad. It was very unintentional, but life is that way too.
But Jeff Bridges is my hero and my mentor in every way, but I have done more serious television than you have. Yeah. And, that happens all the time. It's like, I have a brother? Like, what the hell?
And it's so wild, but it's very lifelike, right? It's
right.
Jeff, do you like the way television unfolds, or?
I do. It's very fresh, and Amy's much more experienced at it, but it's, for me, it's very, very refreshing. I went in with a lot of trepidation, whether I was going to dig it or not, because when I started out, it was always, movies, were more important and better done and so forth. And my father, Lloyd Bridges, who had a hit series in the 60s, Sea Hunt, he had several series.
Right.
Party work. And he was disappointed that it was kind of rushed and didn't give the quality, because he also had done film. So I was concerned about that. But then I started to see, some of the great products coming out of television. And I said, don't be ridiculous, man, check it out. And so, I'm so glad I did, because it's proven that it's no different than making movies as far as care and the people that have been assembled. I mean, we've worked with some just great cast, right, Abe, and the directors, and the directors, they're all, this is something new to me too. All the directors are different each show, and the camera people are all different. And I've dug every one of them. They've just been cast so well, everything.
Except for episode 2. Episode 2, I don't know that you're in it that much, but let me just say that.
When you say episode 2, season 2?
Yeah, you're not in it.
Oh, but let me just talk about Alia Shawkat, who is one of our partners in this thing. She is so remarkable, and I love, you look at have you seen her stuff, Aim? I mean, and it's just remarkable and so exciting, and it adds a whole new level to everything.
But this allows you to revisit a character. And Amy, you've had that experience how many times? But Jeff, have you ever wanted to revisit a character you've done, perhaps in the movies, where you go, oh, I want to go back?
I just did it with Tron.
In Tron, yes.
Jared Leto was playing the main guy, but my guy gets to come back, and it's wonderful to be a part of that whole thing.
Do you like that, though, coming back and saying, oh, what happened to this one?
Of course, it's fun.
Would the dude ever come back?
I'd be up for it. I don't think the brothers would be.
The brothers aren't down for that. Well, let's try something different, right?
Oh, I also like, I ran a theater company for years. I like company. I like when people stay together for a while, and almost every movie or play, as in finite things, if it's a good experience, it's like, let's do it again. And it's very hard to reassemble just because of life being life. But companies in television exist over time, and so we always joke that we've known each other. This is our 5th year anniversary, honey. Years ago.
We've only done 2, really.
So we've just gotten to exist over time, and COVID and illness. And John would say, strikes, but the actual fall of Afghanistan was during the shooting of this, so the world keeps happening, and we're sort of dialoguing with it in an interesting way.
Could you actually be like these characters, though, where you keep these secrets, where you go, holy man, how do you keep that secret? I could never do it.
I'm a terrible secret keeper.
Oh, yeah, me too. When I find out and get some information about the show, I really wanted to tell Sue, my wife, about it, but she says, no, I'm watching it as the thing, so I can't tell her.
She wants to see it unfold as an viewer.
Yeah.
When you look at this, how long can this go?
I have like a 7-year contract, but I think Jeff's contract is only 3 years, so I don't know what's going to be happening. I will say Steinberg, thinks like in my view, thinks like a playwright. Like he really has always seen this as a 3-act play. So we don't know if there's a season 3, but certainly the way season 2 ends, Jeff, that is not the end of the story. That's the beginning of a whole other chapter of a story.
Like what we're talking about, where it's leading. John has leaked some of it, and it's just shocking. And
yeah, that last scene. So I'm like, if there isn't a season 3, this is like not a great ending of the story.
And if you're lucky when you're working on a project, for me anyway, this is the case. When it starts doing you're not doing it. You're not trying to. It starts to telling you what it wants. And that's what's happening on this one. The story, and John doesn't know. He doesn't know. Yeah. It's morphing and going, and what the show doesn't want. You might try something, and you go, no, you won't stick. Yeah. It's this. This is what it is. So it's fascinating to be a part of that artistic momentum.
Yeah.
How does John Lithgow's method of acting fit with yours? Are you 3 all together in this, or is it a different kind of a situation?
For me, I mean, I was only with Jeff really the whole season 1, so I feel like we were just golden retriever puppies in a box. It was very physical, and the characters are physical, and we are physical people. And John, I really hadn't worked with that much, but I was thinking, Jeff, the end of episode 5, when we're in the kitchen, when you're washing your hands, that was a scene that needed some massaging. The words didn't quite make sense, and I really always treasure that, because all 3 of us, we're all respectful of the process, but there is a moment where it's like, this is not quite ready to go, and I feel like we were but all feeling the same thing, had different ways of going about it, but and we were right, and it got better.
And it's the tone that the directors and starts up in Warren Littlefield, our great producer, creates this atmosphere of letting the artists do their thing, and so supportive, and we're all working together on this thing. Yeah, I was talking about John and whether our acting styles match, or how they fit. They kind of fit his acting. They fit me like a glove. All the actors approach it in a different way depending on what their experience has been in the past. And John and I have a lot of experiences to share. We both come from showbiz families, so there's that whole thing. And also, and I don't even, well, it's a combination between unconscious and conscious, but, we're playing dear friends, right, who've known each other for a long time. And just generally, I find actors so willing to open their hearts and be close and be friends. Both John and I don't, like I say, I don't think it was a conscious thing, like, we've got to be friends, let's get into this. It wasn't like that. We just kind of leaned into it naturally. And I find actors do that. Do you, Amy? That's just, we enjoy a company working together. I'm not alone in this,
But you and John, and I feel this way, Allie is the same way. It's so not neurotic or power hungry. A healthy actor will do that, right? And an unhealthy actor, a neurotic actor, or a vain actor, or a paranoid actor, we've all seen that too. And I think that because John and Jeff are so healthy as humans, they're happy people, they have a nice family. I mean, it's, we're together day after day. So it's like, oh, so then it just becomes about doing good work and being supportive of one another. But, there's no power trips. There's no, and I think given Jeff's stature and John's stature, people come in, I see the day players, like, what's it going to be like? And it's so warm, and it's so, which is not to say if we struggle to get things right. Nobody's afraid to feel passionately. It's not like we're on eggshells with one another, but it's always about getting the scene right.
Thanks, Bruce, for that interview. Always good to hear Jeff Bridges' voice, one of my favorite actors. Amy Brenneman, she's been around for a long time. She's done a lot of movies, a lot of TV, of course. But one of the first movies, like big movies that she did and had a really co-starring appearance was Heat. opposite of Robert De Niro. She played his love interest, if you recall, from that film way back.
Wow. Isn't it funny how there are ones like Rene Russo? You can pick them off. And they all were kind of the girlfriend of. Interestingly, television helps them elevate to their own character. I mean, it's fascinating to see that kind of parade of girlfriends of. Then they also say these days, some 60, 70-year-old guy is not going to have a 50 or 60-year-old girlfriend. So there's that whole, is this really right? Should we be doing this?
But she had a nice run too recently on The Leftovers on HBO. Yeah, she's had a lot of strong, Judging Amy. She was the lead on that forever.
And she says she likes doing theater, so that's another option,
But it's, I saw the name, like when I was looking to see who you had interviewed this week, when you were sending me the audio, and of course I was expecting Jeff Bridges, but then Amy Brenneman is like, oh, I remember her from Heat. She was, and that was such a long time ago, and I had just watched that movie again. I kind of, that's one of those movies where when I want to watch a movie that I've seen a million times, but it never gets old for me, and it's such a long movie, but I just love that movie. It's the shootout scene is really
sure,
like the bank heist, and it's just. And Pacino and De Niro, not to go off on a tangent here, but De Niro and Pacino, I remember that being the selling point. It's
thing.
Like the two of them are together, and they're only together for like 5 minutes on screen. I mean, because they're going in opposite paths, and they just kind of cross briefly in the middle, and then at the end, and that's it. But yeah, Amy Brenneman, Heat, as Edie, who was Robert De Niro's love interest in that.
So now you're recommending that as the offshoot to watch this week?
Yes. So, watch The Old Man, then watch Heat, and then watch The Big Lebowski. And there you go. You've got lots of options there with Jeff Bridges, Amy Brenneman, and, younger and older.
Couldn't you see, though, Jeff Bridges? He had in one of those seasons of Fargo.
Yes, but I can see him in so many things. I mean, I could see him in Fargo. I could see him showing up on the morning show as an executive producer on that program. I could see him doing anything. He could just step into anything. All he has to do is he has to trim his beard a little bit, cut his hair a little bit, right? Because that's what he always does, and then he lets it grow out again. So he's got to get into a look, whatever look is required for the program or the movie, and then he can kind of sail into something else. He's just such a dynamic, multi-purpose, whatever you give him, it just works.
He's in his Sam Elliott phase of life right now. I wonder what his wife thinks of it, though. She has to live with this character for how long? You go, all right, I think it's time. Let's cut the hair.
Right, exactly. It's like, you need to get back to work because you need a haircut.
I don't need the dude at the house just lying around doing nothing all day. I want to have Tucker. Bring me Tucker.
Yeah, there's another one. That's a good movie too. So, all right. Well, on that note, thank you again for listening, and we will be back again next week with another episode of Streamed and Screened.